All right, let's be honest. The thing that everyone wants to talk about right now is Arc Raiders. Well, just be honest. Everyone wants to hear about it. We want to hear more about it. When is it coming? Well, we know when it's coming. We want it to come sooner. We want a beta. That's what we want. We want a beta. And according to Jordan, aka Espresso, he put up a video the other day saying Arc Raiders breaks the silence. Now, I have no idea what they said or what's going on with this, but that's why Jordan is here. He's going to tell me. So let's dive into it. The music in this game is dope.
After a few weeks of radio silence, Arc Raiders has finally given players an update on development while also sneaking in a few minor reveals in the messaging and accompanying in-progress video. Today,
Ooh, there's a video. I didn't even know there was a video.
What you should be aware of, so drop your thoughts, drop a like, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders content.
This is why we have Jordan
for this one, whether it becomes a game we cover fully here on the main channel or if
like Jordan, I happen to know and talk to Jordan a couple times a week. He loves this game. And I would not be surprised if he ends up making it his main game on his channel. If like the launch goes well and everything, I would not be surprised if he did. And it's a really damn good game, let's be honest.
If it goes to the second channel, that's still up in the air. But for now, I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys more as we gear up towards the late October and that game's launch. And also, if you'd like to join in on the conversations as they happen live, check out the Twitch link down below. We're going live a lot more over there. But anyways, let's get into it. So this comes from the official Arc Raiders Discord, coming directly from the development team there. They said, "Hello, Raiders. We have some information for you from the Arc Raiders team as we work our way to launch. Since Tech Test 2, we've been hard at work preparing for launch. We're adding new content, sharpening what's already there, and..."
Interesting that they skip over beta or alpha or anything like that. They just go straight, we are preparing for launch.
Making sure that encounters you'll get into are as thrilling, fair, and gratifying as they can be. That means a lot of balancing work based on the mountains of data and feedback we gained from so many people joining, playing, and pushing the boundaries of the game. If you played Tech Test 2, keep an eye on your email as we're planning on sending out additional surveys in small batches to dig even deeper into your experiences.
I guarantee you I will not look at my email.
Tech Test 2 was that a few weapons and gadgets were bending the rules in ways that didn't quite align with our design intent, either by making fights too quick, too one-sided, or just not giving players the time or tools to respond. And by the rules, I mean our combat pillars, the guiding principles that shape how Arc Raiders should feel when you engage with man or machine while topside. Our combat is built on beats and flows. That means letting action ramp up and have room to breathe, not just explode and end in an instant. We want to linger in those moments where two players feel locked in, reading each other's actions and responding with their own. So when weapons like the Arpeggio or Tempest had such a fast cadence and short time to kill...
So predominantly this is talking about just pure balance and things that they saw in Tech Test 2. I'm assuming, since the way that Jordan introed it, they're going to go into what they're working on for new content as well, but
moments didn't have a chance to happen. We're tuning them to restore that flow. We're also thinking hard about range and versatility. Your loadout should influence how you move throughout the world, which fights you take, and how you win them. Even though the Anvil is a personal favorite of mine, the developer delivering this information, it was performing a bit too well at long ranges to the point where it started cannibalizing our other rifles. Similarly, we found that our shotguns were overshadowing our SMGs. We want shotguns to feel viable, maybe more than they typically are in PvP games, but we overshot. The volcano hit too hard, too fast, and from too far away.
So they're telling us what they're doing there.
Base cadence, spread, and how damage falls off
predominant weapons,
while still leaving you room to mod it to act like the beast that it was. And yes, you were right, the heavy shields were way too strong, and shield swapping was way too efficient. We've got even more we're excited to show.
So here's the thing, okay? I'm going to make a prediction. I think to do an extraction shooter right, I think the formula needs to be changed a little bit. And we talked about this on a stream maybe like a month ago. It was a while ago. And when it comes to it was when we were talking about Marathon. And when it comes to extraction shooters, I think, especially with Marathon and comparing it to Destiny, part of the fun of that is like feeling like your character gets better. And if a game doesn't do that properly, which by the way, Arc does, like you have character leveling and everything like that. But if a game doesn't do it properly, loot feels pointless. Because odds are, I think in Tarkov, for example, like 40% of your raids are what most people succeed at, or a good player succeeds at. So that means 60% of the time you lose the weapon that you got. So why would you be excited about finding a really good weapon if you can't keep it anyway. Now, something that Arc does really well is you have 2 slots of things that you can bring out no matter what, which makes going for quests better, right? But weapons never feel that way. I feel as though if a game like Marathon, if they wanted to adapt and overcome and be different than other games, making it a little bit more of a looter shooter mixed with an extraction shooter would be their best direction. Because then if you have this really incredible weapon, you can just put it in your slot that keeps that primary weapon. Just call it your primary weapon slot. You always get to keep your primary weapon. Then if you find another good weapon, you can put it in your secondary weapon slot, and then you can try to extract with that. But if you die, you lose that. And so you get like essentially these 2 slots you get to keep. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like it's almost like there could be more of a crossover with looter shooter and extraction shooter. And I feel like the best company to do that would be Bungie, but we've seen how much they've messed up. So now we don't know. I don't know. Tangent over.
Show you at launch new tools, new toys, and new experiences. We're planning content that will hopefully meet your expectations and give you even more to build and bring along your mission to the surface. While October might feel far away from you, for me, it's a race against time to make sure we give you the experience worth the wait. Thank you for being on this journey with us. And
last part's well written.
In development, in progress, build, showcasing a little bit of a few more details. Some additional things that we probably haven't seen just yet, and some that are updates to what we will see. So with that, you end up seeing a new weapon called the Hull Cracker, which is possibly a launcher weapon, given that it takes rocket ammo, it looks like.
It looks like it shoots things through walls.
Scrap or metal, likely indicating a larger pool of things that we can use for crafting, which I personally like the sound of. I'm fairly certain that fire spray that is being crafted is a new piece of utility. I don't remember seeing that within the tech test 2.
What is that
what
for,
may or
though?
may not be a new tune on the radio was something that was shown off as well. Not 100% sure on that one. Can't remember off the top of my head the songs.
There is a rubber duck
though
though
on the radios. But anyways, it's definitely nice to hear from the team for sure. I think that this is going to be a message that may not resonate with as many people because it's not like an it's coming earlier type of surprise announcement or something. But when we're in these sort of lull periods between when a showcase could happen, like we'll mention later in the video, I think August and Gamescom is the next time we'll see like heavy spotlights on the game.
I think Gamescom is going to be really, really interesting because Gamescom is going to be that time when we have a new Call of Duty thing, almost guaranteed, Battlefield, Arc Raiders, and basically everything coming out this fall, which there's a lot, is going to have to do reveals there. And that's a lot at once. So this channel, TWR, is going to be very busy.
From now until launch, like there's a lot of downtime here with this. These periods where there's nothing planned to happen, I'm more than happy to hear from the development teams about what they're doing to just keep us in the loop for talking about the game and keeping us interested in or whatever the case. And I think that it's a testament to goodwill talking about this kind of stuff, being transparent, and I think a sign for the upkeep and how the game's post-launch will go as well. A bit more community-driven, community-first, trying to keep their players in the loop and engaged as much as possible, even when there's nothing to really outwardly discuss. And that's ignoring the fact that Embark has handled the finals pretty incredibly for its community, I think, from what I've seen from dabbling enough. Like, I'm not obviously...
So the finals, if you haven't been following it, has seemingly been the only other first-person shooter that can maintain a growing community, or at least stabilized community, outside of, well, even Call of Duty. Call of Duty depletes year after year, but Embark is doing some crazy things.
A finals content creator first and foremost, but it is one of those things that Embark does have a good track record with this kind of stuff. Now, when we talk about the sort of message overall, one thing to take away from is that they're planning to get more feedback, but via surveys, not a playtest as mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Test 2, keep an eye on your email, as we're planning to send out additional surveys.
So no beta.
So this is something that's definitely nice. They want to hear more feedback continually through this, but it's certainly interesting because, like, I mean, you're going back now a couple of months at this point to try and accurately remember what you liked or disliked beyond just...
Okay, odd question. If Black Ops 7 doesn't do a beta, is that a good or bad thing? Chat. I'll get up why in a second, and they're seemingly not doing a beta, and that's why I'm going to point this out. But let me just ask you that, and by the end of this video, I'll come back to it.
Generalizations in these types of surveys. I think that if you maybe had like smaller batch tech test, not necessarily even like a full-on closed alpha or anything like that, but kind of like a Battlefield Labs type of situation where it's an online semi-open, like sign up and get invited type of thing here to test it out a little bit. I think that'd be cool to do because it has been so long since that tech test to remember specific details, but also because so many people didn't really get to play the game during the tech test. Like, I know a lot of the comments here were people saying, hey, I loved the game, I really was excited for it, but I just didn't get an opportunity to play it. So that's one thing that I think would be cool to see, but for right now, it seems like it's only going to be surveys. I do like the mention of balancing some of these items. Things like the Arpeggio, Tempest, Volcano, and Shields getting tuned, I think are all rightfully so on the chopping block. I'm not gonna lie, a Heavy Shield and Arpeggio didn't even matter what my secondary weapon was. I just felt untouchable. And admittedly, the shields being a big part of that, with the base shields versus heavy shields affording you so much more health.
There's a bunch of games that I feel like are like that right now.
Gunfight on top of that before you had to replenish your shields. So while I love just running through squads with that sort of pairing, it was definitely too powerful. So it's nice that it's going to be looked at and adjusted accordingly, because in these types of games where it's basically winner take all and you lose anything you either acquire,
was a horrible nade throw there, lazy,
into the match, it's important to have some level of balance here with that. Having that not necessarily split-second death, but a lot quicker time to kill than someone else, it does lead to some inconsistencies. I do like if Embark can keep up regular updates, teasers of things that
you gonna win this gunfight? There's no way.
I can appreciate that kind of stuff, and I imagine a lot of other people do. So talking about
this
sort of lull period and the fact we didn't get a hands-on tech test or
all right. Before he gets into when we'll see Arc Raiders. Oh, beta. Actually, we'll wait for the beta. We'll wait until we hear what he says about the beta, and then in the outro, I'll dive in with my point.
The game. Do I think we'll see a beta? I don't obviously want to commit to anything because I feel like I kind of hyped myself up too much the last time we talked about this, kind of following some prior
I don't think there's gonna be
Easter eggs that followed similarly to the finals shadow drop, but I think it's certainly possible we see a beta because we do have a long time from now until October 30th, almost 4 months exactly, so a third of the year still. It's very possible that it could be just me attempting to cope, but I think that it makes sense both logically and timing wise to see a beta.
Like, the fact that they didn't mention it in that statement at all, and in fact shied away from it, tells me that I don't think they
in the somewhat near
they
future.
will or are.
My guess, and here's how I'd lay it out if I'm planning things for Embark, it'd be around the time of Gamescom in August. I think
so that's what I think Call of Duty is going to do.
Live, the premiere show of Gamescom, that you could use that to springboard a playable build like a beta, either immediately after the show or the day after, and get a ton of people in. That show alone ends up having a ton of eyes on it, and of course, throughout the industry, you're going to see the residuals of the people talking about, hey, Arc Raiders is playable again. You get all that buzz generated and everything, but then you can stress test servers, showcase a bit of content, get feedback on those balancing updates made to the game. People are then happy they can play the game again. It's not too far away from the launch, tides them over, but keeps them hungry enough for more. They get that little bit of taste and then come back in about 2 months' time to end up playing the full thing. Not to mention, you'd be able to do this on or around the 20th of August. Figure about a weekend or a week for a beta or so. So you're now at the end of August by the time this wraps up. About 60 days from your launch. In my limited experience with AAA game dev, you can usually assume those final 30 days to launch, maybe a little bit longer, are devoted to certification of the game.
Getting, like, it's like that last marketing push of like, here's what we're adding, like kind of revealing things for the launch.
Gold and going through first party approvals. If there's any physical discs of Arc being made, that's also when that process would take place, but that would then allow players to play the game again after plenty of time off, allow the devs to get valuable feedback, give the devs ample time to make adjustments.
I think I disagree with them here.
Feedback, all while ultimately still having time to sort of be ahead of schedule and not massively crunching for that October 30th launch date. That, I think, is my idea.
Yeah, see, I think he's wrong. Because I think if they were actually trying to avoid that massive crunch or anything like that, I think that they would probably have already had that beta. Like, I think they are taking what they already have, and that is what they are putting, the balance that they are putting into that final game. I could be wrong.
Scenario for the situation.
I hope I'm wrong, actually.
Whether it happens or not, I mean, who knows? But logically, I think it could make sense to see a beta again. I have to say it abundantly clear again. Don't necessarily count on this. This is just what I think would make sense to happen. Whether we get a beta or not, who knows? But anyways, nice to hear from Arc Raiders and the developers over at Embark here, keeping us a little bit more in the loop here for what we have upcoming in the period of time where it's a little bit of a dry spell for the game. But anyways, just wanted to fill you guys in.
All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's go back to what I was saying. Betas. Betas can be good. Betas can build hype. But I think betas have to be far enough away from launch where there's a gap, where there's enough that, okay, we've given you this snippet. We're going to cook the rest, bring it to you soon, and you're going to be wowed by what we've done since then. The way that Call of Duty does betas and the way that Ark would have to do a beta, if they're doing it the way that Jordan said, would be you're basically getting the full game and then the game comes out and then everyone's experienced everything. Now, what's interesting is when I asked in chat, Icebergs, who's a content creator, he comes in and says it would be great if there was no beta. I agree with him. Most people absolutely will not. So why did everyone else in chat say the exact opposite of that? Why did they say it's a bad thing? And even someone says it's bad for what's about to come because there's obviously nothing fresh to show off. Well, that's because they're sitting there waiting for these new things to come. So it wouldn't build the hype in the same way something else altogether would, like waiting for launch to come or anything like that. So I think we've seen the beta come time and time again for a game like Call of Duty. Or I think the one that's going to be interesting is I do think we're going to get a Battlefield beta sometime this summer. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because if they do a beta, let's say July, and then they wait to January to launch it, that's that time, that gap, that exactly I am talking about, that I think a game like that needs in between the playtest, in between the beta, before the game fully launches to become whatever it needs to become. And that's why I think Ark also won't have a beta. And I actually do think it would be good for Call of Duty not to, because as we discussed earlier, when everything is leaked or shown before the game comes out, like it was with Black Ops 6, the game just doesn't have the right hype. And or it fizzles out more quickly because everyone knows everything that happened. And now you're saying agree. So I may have convinced you that a beta might be a bad thing, but at the same time, things do need to be tested, and we know how bad the QA is for Call of Duty. So if there's no beta, I'd be a little bit worried for launch as well. So there's parts to both sides of it. They also said that they're doing the marketing different for Call of Duty this year. So maybe that means no beta. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. And if I'm predicting Ark, I'd probably say no beta, full launch. We'll see though. Also, that's a busy time of year. That's Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Ark all in like within weeks of each other. Potentially not Battlefield, but yeah.